Okay, today I'm officially going to look at vans. I'm taking my friend Jess, who is actually going to help me with the van build as well. She has a little bit of experience with tiny homes, so she's always been wanting to try a van, so we're gonna give it a go. But I am looking today, my goal is to look for a Sprinter van. They're kind of the ones, I had a lovely friend call it the Amazon van. They're taller, so it's less wide, they're taller. I'm gonna learn more about details today because I don't know much, but I'm looking at the Ford dealership and the Dodge. Mercedes Sprinter vans are pretty common as well, but they're really expensive and I'm trying to go a cheaper route. So we're looking into Dodge and Ford. And then we're also connecting with this dealership that actually goes to market and looks specifically for something that you're needing. So that's the plan for today. Stay tuned. I'm gonna video Jess and I doing it. It should be an interesting experience, but I'm excited. We're in the Ford dealership, masks on because 2020 pandemic, and we're gonna go look at our first van. Jess right here is going to be helping me. I'm gonna get yelled at for that. Jess right here is going to be helping me build out the van. She has done tiny homes.
I've studied tiny homes for quite an extensive period of time. I love them. I want to build my own. I have everything probably to build the inside of one. I have never built the outside though yet.
So that's the goal. And then, but her major in college was architecture design, and she welds. She's just basically kind of a badass. So she's my assistant because we all know she can't do nothing. So we're here looking at vans today. I'll, show you as we go, but Ford is our first stop.
I really hope not.
This is one of the options, but we've decided it's too short. Just try and stand up.
No, can't.
Nope. Yep. We need to be able to stand, so I don't think this one is better than that one. It's a little taller. Hey. That's what we wanted. So we're looking at this one. I think that this is probably going to be our winner for style. This isn't the actual van or anything, but this is Ford. You can see it's the high top ones. So we're gonna test drive it, give it a little ride around, see how it goes. Okay, we're looking at, now we're at Dodge, right?
Yes,
What's our
Dodge.
opinions on Dodge?
The ratings weren't the best. They were like 50-50, but I mean, like I think it makes up for it in the specs because it's huge.
It's way bigger. What was the price difference between Ford and Dodge?
$2,000, but so $2,000 gives you the extra room and the space.
So yeah, take a look in there. Just stand up in here and show everybody how tall it is.
Way taller and way longer. Well, the length, it's about by an inch or two, which at the end of the day, an inch or two always matters. But yeah, the height, I love that the height difference is honestly I would say a good 6 inches.
Yeah, like I'm 5'7", and I'm not anywhere close to it, and I was on my tiptoes. So we are liking this one. The difference on this one and the Ford too is that we have this portion that's kind of blocking from the front. I can't decide if I'm in love with that or not. I need to sit on it, I think. But that's kind of like what the differences were that we were looking at. Like she said, price, what you said, $2,000?
Yeah, the price difference is $2,000. The Ford was 40 and this one was 42.
So we're gonna test drive this one and see the difference in driving, because the Ford ran really smooth. So like I have a feeling it's gonna be hard to top that. We're gonna check that out. And then we're gonna go home and contemplate. And what we are really considering is possibly taking these specs and then going to market.
Checking the engine specs, because this one does have a bigger engine as well.
Yeah, so engine as well. So we need to check some specs, and then we have some connections, and Jess might be rolling out to market for me. We don't know yet. We'll see, so stay tuned. Bringing up a really good point of how you can tuck to all of the wiring that we're gonna do and all of that kind of stuff away.
Everything. It's gonna be tucked away. And then so essentially this is where your wall is gonna be. So you'll put like whatever, your sheetrock or your wood or whatever you want as your backsplash tile, it's gonna start right here.
So yeah, so like the wall would come off of that, but it's great, she's right, for the insulation and for the wiring. This is like actually already basically ready to go and ready for us to remodel. It's just a matter of, which size we want. We're on a test drive. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Here we go. Right now it's echoing.
Why won't it go? It's not going.
Oh, there we go.
Is your door open? It says, oh, is that sliding door open?
Uh-oh, hold on. Yeah, that was a little bit stressful start. We got it. We got it off the road. We are now driving.
We realized that we kind of didn't, I had the emergency brake on still. It wasn't going down. We couldn't figure it out. He left us, Ford drove with us and they made Jess sit in the back. And
made an awkward joke. But it's okay.
Super inappropriate, but you know, misogynistic America, it's cute. And then Dodge handed us the keys and goes, have fun. And I went, excuse me.
They did take Abby's ID though.
Yeah, they have my ID. It's safe, but.
So we never come back. And technically, oh my God, we've got a fake ID.
But we're on the road.
Woo! All right, so now we're just looking for the Hooters to make a right at. He told us to make a right at the Hooters.
As far as the driving on this, I mean, the difference between this and the Ford is this one has back windows, so I can technically use the back windows to look in. But they've told me to really rely on my mirrors, and I'm trying to do that as much as I can. Getting used to driving a larger vehicle. I don't see the Hooters. Do you see the Hooters?
Nope, I do not.
I feel like we're almost gonna hit like the interstate. And I don't want to get on the interstate.
I don't either. And he said you can't miss the Hooters. There it is.
There's
the Hooters at Falkenberg Road. There she is.
But no, so just kind of getting used to the driving capabilities is interesting. The Ford definitely rides a little bit smoother, but this one is bigger. It's not bad to drive or hard to drive, just different. I'm learning the mirror thing because I've never been a big mirror user, and now I need to watch it because I forget how wide I am.
How are the mirrors compared to the Ford?
They're pretty much the same, to be completely honest. That mirror feels low for some reason, but that could just be something that can be adjusted. But yeah, this one definitely, it's more expensive because it's larger, but I don't hate it. I love it actually. But
and the only thing that I do notice is this is also lower, but it's because you have storage up on the other side where the Ford didn't have that.
Yeah, so there is more storage capabilities. Both of the cars had storage up here, which I like. Do you remember which right he said to take next? What was that?
I don't know. That sounded.
Oh, it was a grate. I drove over a grate.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Figure out which way to get back.
Figure out how to get back because they're gonna think we stole the vehicle.
Without U-turning. So here's the thing, you're like he said, on big, really tight U-turns, you're not going to be able to do it either.
Which is fine because I hate U-turning anyways.
Perfect.
I will avoid a U-turn at all costs. Am I turning up here? What are we doing? Where are we going? What's my life? What's happening?
Not this one, but the next light I would take a right at, yes.
Okay. But yeah, so I don't know. I am sketched out that everybody says that Dodge is like the one that is not as high rated, but so far I've liked the size of what I've seen. So I guess it just really depends on what my non-negotiables are. Yeah.
I would say so, because there's certain things that like you have to have, and it's not an option, obviously.
Are Dodge, Ford, and Mercedes kind of the only options?
No, because that's, I guess, actually out of maybe the high tops, possibly. We'll have to ask when we get back, because, yeah, that's one thing. Obviously, when I was looking, it said transit vans, there's 36, but I'm not thinking that all of them have high top capabilities.
Yeah,
because a lot of them
like
probably
the
are just
top,
the,
yeah.
how do I say, just the van itself without that extra bit.
Gotcha. Well, guys, we'll keep you posted. Let's return this van to safety.
Let's watch the road.
Hi friends. Okay, clearly I'm going to be doing all of my vlogging for the most part from my bed until further notice, or until I get on the road, because clearly I'm comfiest here. But I wanted to talk about, so Jess and I went and looked at vans this weekend. Here are some things I learned that are like dumb little thingies that like you don't realize because you're not invested in the concept or idea. I should preface with, I'm deciding to do this and I'm not a car girl. I know nothing about cars. Up until last year, you can ask my roommate, Brina. I didn't even know the difference between the make and the model in my car. I just have never invested my time in learning about cars or what it all meant. So you can imagine not having any car knowledge and then trying to jump straight to vans has been interesting. So when I have been asked, what kind of van are you looking for? What are you going for? My answer to everybody has always been a Sprinter van. That is just what I saw online. It's what I saw a lot of van renos remodeled as. And I just went, oh, a Sprinter van. Well, I learned something this weekend. So here's the knowledge that I have for you that I learned. So a Sprinter van, I just thought it was all vans that were high top vans. No, it's a Sprinter van specifically goes with Mercedes, which obviously most of you know. And if you don't, it's okay, because non-car people, I'm here for you. Mercedes is an expensive car brand, and a Sprinter van is under Mercedes and would be one of the more expensive versions of a high top van. A high top van is what I'm looking for. I want at least 7 feet, like upwards in size, because I want to be able to stand in it. Not to mention, I'm going to be putting flooring down and insulation, so that's going to take away some inches and feet as well. So it's really important to me that it's tall enough for me to stand in. If you're going to live in a van for a year or so, like you need to be able to live in it. You need to be able to stand. So I'm going for the high tops. I am not going for a normal standard van. Length isn't as important to me as height. So high tops were what I was looking for. And I had like just immediately all I had ever said to anybody was Sprinter van. I'm getting a Sprinter van. I'm getting a Sprinter van. Didn't realize that that was Mercedes. So I learned that there's 3 different types of vans you can get. I'm sure there's more, but the 3 that I was looking into. So there's Sprinter van by Mercedes, which was going to be out of my budget and wasn't something that we were going to consider. So buy Sprinter van. I'm not getting a Sprinter van. I'm sorry to everybody that I told, oh, I'm getting a Sprinter van, because I clearly didn't know what the crap I was talking about. The next one is you have Dodge Ram, which is the ProMaster. So same kind of concept, looks the same as a Mercedes Sprinter van. I'm sure there's little differences on the look, but it's still the same high top, shorter body. We looked at a Dodge Ram. I got to test drive it. I will say when I drove it, I felt more comfortable. I think it had a lot to do with my experience with the company. He actually just handed me the keys and said, go ahead and test drive it. And my friend Jess and I went and test drove it. We brought it back. There was no problems, obviously, but we didn't have to take him with us on the test drive, which I think really just eased my comfort level, because I had never driven a van before. So I was already nervous, and it was a lot more comfortable to not have to have him in the passenger seat. My difference when I drove a Ford and I test drove that, the guy came with us. He actually made some very misogynistic comments to my friend, and it just wasn't a pleasant experience. So I felt very uptight driving. So I would like to attribute my experience to that. Some people might say they enjoy driving a Ford better. It has nothing really to do with the brand, more of just my experience with it and how I felt comfortable driving the Dodge. I really enjoyed it. The Dodge was also a couple inches longer than the Ford that we test drove, but both were great. The other difference was the Dodge that we had a separator between the front where the seats are and where the back of the van would be. Now, this is something I hadn't accounted for. I didn't realize the importance of having that divider, because I always thought, oh, I don't want that. I want to be able to walk from my seat back into my home. But the reality is that means people can see through the front window that you have a home back there. So it's really important to have that kind of setup, or at least have a curtain or something that can go there that can block and separate home from driving. I obviously am working with Jess on this, and Jess has incredible welding skills. So we're going to cook up a little cool way to do this, and I'm not going to tell you. We're going to surprise you, because if it doesn't work out, I don't want to like get hopes up on how we're doing this portion of the reno. But I do want, I think, a van that has that divider. And if it doesn't come with the divider and it's a huge price difference, I'll probably just put one in. But that is something that little tiny things you don't think about until you start looking. So that's the ProMaster. So essentially it's the equivalent of a Sprinter, but it's called a ProMaster. So I learned that. And then Ford is a Transit. So same kind of deal, same setup, but it's called a Transit. So that was like the big thing and my big takeaway from our experience test driving and exploring the different options. I'm excited for what's next. All of these new vans are at a cost of about 40 grand. That's out of my budget. Obviously, I'm trying to do this as cheap as possible, but also as efficient and safe as possible. Here's some other things I learned. So the reality is, for a van, you can, on average, like the lifespan of a van is about 300,000 miles. So if you half-life that, you have 150,000 miles. Anything below 150,000 miles on a used van, not only is it going to be about half the price of a brand new van, but it's still okay to drive because it's only at the half-life of its life. So what I did to make the most sense out of this is I mapped out my whole plan and my whole trip
and mapped out all of how many miles I would be driving. And then I kind of almost duplicated it just to be on the safe side. And it came out to about 30 to 40,000 miles. And the half-life is 150,000 miles. So as long as I am getting a van that doesn't have more than around 150,000 miles, I'd like it to be less. Not only will I cut my price a ton, but I'll know that I'm kind of safe on the road as long as I get it checked out by my mechanic and like make sure everything's working fine. But that's like kind of where I'm sitting on used versus new. New just isn't realistic for me. Even though like there is the luxury of having a brand new car, it just doesn't make sense for me. So we used this experience to go test drive these new cars to like kind of get a feel of what I liked, what setup I needed. And then from there start pursuing leads, specifically a good friend of ours who can go to auction and kind of look at these vans. He did pull up a lead, and we will be going, today is Tuesday. On Thursday, we will be going to check out his lead. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. It'll be a surprise. But let's just say, if it doesn't work, I totally get it. It's fine. That's the universe telling me it's not going to work. But if this one does pan out, this is like complete kismet. It's kind of my dream. So we'll see, but I'm excited. So those are kind of my takeaways from test driving and what I learned. I'm open to any questions that anybody has. This process is really weird. I'm learning so much. Jess was so helpful. She knew all the right questions to ask, and having somebody there that can help you that is kind of savvy in that sense is really helpful, because you pick up things and you learn. So now I can help other people with it. I'm eventually probably going to write all this up in a blog post or something like that to kind of explain more of it in depth to you guys and almost a guide. But yeah, it's been interesting. And I will say I did enjoy the experience of driving the Dodge better, but the Ford was a smoother ride. So, I mean, there's benefits and downfalls to both. I know Fords online are better rated than Dodges. So like that was my hesitancy. I would have been all for like, I'm getting a ProMaster, but the reality is Transits have better ratings online with the population. So that's something to consider as well. So that's kind of where I stand. Sorry for the rant, but I hope you learned something. And I know I learned tons new all week. As Jess told me this weekend, that really stuck with me is if you're not learning one new thing every day, you're not growing. So don't stay stagnant, learn something new every day. I just happened to learn like 20,000 new things this weekend. So stay tuned.